Hello, everybody. Can you guys all hear me? All right. Let's see here. Okay, awesome. Okay. Let's see. All right, so I've got this thing that's supposed to be picking up my voice. I don't know if it is. Okay, fantastic. All right, so welcome to this live event. This is my first time doing a Facebook Live. I've been on Instagram Live a whole lot. This is slightly different, not a whole lot different. And today I'm here to answer any questions that I possibly can answer on with relation to CARES Act. This is hosted with Alliance for Better Nonprofits. Thank you so much for having me. They just do such amazing work with nonprofits in this region and around Knoxville and East Tennessee, and they're fantastic. They really do try to make nonprofits better in a significant way. And it's just been a pleasure getting to know them and getting to see their work and getting to see all the people involved with it. So it's fantastic. A little bit about myself, just a little bit. So my name's Haseeb Qureshi. I go by HQ in the community. It's a lot easier to get those two initials versus my whole name. My social media handles are _HQ, and you can find me on Instagram, here, Facebook, and YouTube. In my Instagram profile, you'll see a link to a Linktree page that has a bunch of different helpful links. And this goes back to why am I qualified to be able to thank you, ABN. Why am I qualified to talk about the CARES Act and helping businesses? So here's sort of my credentials. So one, I'm a licensed Tennessee attorney. I've been licensed since 2011. And while I'm still young, I know my stuff and I care about businesses. When I got out of law school, I actually cared more about businesses and being a part of them. And so I didn't practice law when I got out of law school. I went out and actually learned, cut my teeth, and learned how to run businesses poorly. Well, I learned a whole lot. And through in the middle of that, I've got to meet some incredible people, and I've got to have some incredible friends in the ecosystem here in Knoxville. So I'm deeply passionate about the small business community, and that includes nonprofits. Because nonprofits, if ran right, and this is what I love ABN preaches, is that you should really operate your nonprofit as if you are for profit. Just because you're nonprofit does not mean you can't forget about how to sustain yourself. If you don't sustain yourself, then how are you going to help as many people as possible? And so, if anything, there's a higher standard of business efficacy with nonprofits. You got to be very disciplined. And so I'm really appreciative of that. I'm also a part-time lecturer at UT Haslam in the Department of Entrepreneurship Management, Department of Management and Entrepreneurship, M&E. And I'm just so wildly excited to be a part of that team. And I'm so thankful for that department. For even having any part-time involvement with them is just amazing and fantastic. And the thing that allows me to do all of this, I'm a full-time lawyer at Morehouse Legal Group. You'll find us at morehouse.com. That's MOREHOUS.com. And, David Morehouse, owner, guy who got me he's one of the two lawyers that got me excited about law. And he and the firm has completely dedicated themselves to the betterment of the business community and to making sure people thrive. And that's a combination of understanding business structures, legal opinions, and just we're strong proponents of small businesses, nonprofits, and just anyone trying to make an impact in this community. So those are sort of my random professional lives that allow me to be able to do this. My loving wife allows me to talk nonstop via video. I mean, I feel very lucky and very, very lucky to be able to be here. And so if I can answer any questions, then let's do it. Now, I think Elle from Alliance for Better Nonprofits she has accumulated a bunch of questions. So let's kick it off with a question. Waiting for them to income. And actually, you know what? Maybe I can give a primer. There's a lot of media coverage on what the CARES Act does. There's a lot of attention on the economic relief there are for small businesses and for nonprofits. So first, because this is a guide for nonprofits, it's important to note a lot of the economic relief for small businesses also include nonprofits, but specifically 501c3s. Now, I just got confirmation from someone I was on the phone with earlier today where nonprofits who don't have a 501c3 can still apply. And the reason why this is all left and right, if you guys have heard varying information about the CARES Act and how businesses can use these funds allocated by Congress, the reason why, this is a program through the Small Business Administration, or the SBA. And instead of the SBA being the point person, the organization that might be a bottleneck, instead, they are letting all the financial institutions are actually the point people we have to go to for these loans. And on the back end, they're going to get promises, they're going to get a guarantee by the SBA saying this loan is covered. Okay? So the way this works is that you don't go to the SBA for a triple P loan. For instance, you go to your private bank. Now, the first question of the day is what is a triple P? Okay, triple P, that stands for Paycheck Protection Program. This is part of the legislation, gets a lot of attention, where legislators are trying to make sure businesses hold on to their payroll. Okay? In order to do that, Congress has allocated this is going to be a big number. They have allocated $349 billion towards this economic relief package. Okay? And what this package does, it allows businesses and nonprofits to be able to go get a loan from any SBA preferred lender, at least right now in the month of April, to then get a loan up to a certain amount to cover certain costs like payroll, rent, mortgage, utilities, and interest in any accruing debts. So the triple P is an economic package. It's a loan. Part of that's forgivable. Okay? So let's see. Can we talk about the forgivability on the two programs and how does it work? Okay, so that's assuming that we know what the two programs are. The two programs that everyone should pay attention to, one is the triple P, the Paycheck Protection Program, right? The other program is EIDL, or Economic Disaster Injury Loans. Or EIDL, I'm getting slightly dyslexic right now. Economic Injury Disaster Loans. There we go. And so, if you haven't applied for an EIDL, I encourage everyone to go to the SBA.gov and go apply for COVID-19 EIDL. When you apply for that directly through SBA's website, up to $10,000, so pretty much $10,000 is going to be a grant, whether you get the loan or not. And again, because COVID has impacted you, you're getting this loan from the SBA, you put in the application online, up to $10,000 will be, you don't have to repay it. And whether your loan is issued or not, whether you get the loan or not, that $10,000 is for you to be able to use and pay payroll costs, rent, current indebtedness that may result from loss of revenues, and if you have to switch materials because you're buying stuff for your nonprofit, but you can't, the increased cost is covered in this loan too. You can apply for this right now, and I encourage that if you haven't applied for it, apply right now, because technically it's supposed to be quick money. It's supposed to be within a 3-day turnaround time, okay? And I've got a question about, so what does a nonprofit put in the ownership section? Honestly, not incredibly sure. I'll have to go pull it up and then post an update back. But my frank point of advice is whatever it takes to get that loan submitted, because nonprofits do qualify, okay? Let's see. I'm getting a bunch of different questions. This is really good. So let me finish recapping. So you have the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, and then you have the triple P loans. Get both. You can totally get both. They are not one or the other. EIDLs are supposed to be quick. The maximum is $10K. It's not supposed to be paybackable. That's all yours. That's a grant. It's an emergency grant as authorized by CARES Act. It's still a loan though. You're still applying for a loan. If you get the loan, that gets rolled into you triple P. If you don't get the loan and you get a triple P, the $10,000 you got is going to be reducing the amount of forgivable aspect on your triple P loan. In other words, they're going to use your EIDL $10,000 grant in calculations for how much loan you can forgive in triple P. Okay, now, a lot of questions are coming in. Let's see. Okay, real quick, forgivability on, so I think this guy answered in the thread, but EIDLs, the grant is, there's no concept of forgivability. That $10,000 is free, clear money, whether you get the loan or not. The forgivability on a triple P loan, not the entire loan is forgivable. Only 8 weeks of a loan are forgivable. And that starts from the time that you get the loan issued and then 8 weeks. Once at the end of your period, and usually in what they've said, June 30th, you can then submit your loan forgiveness paperwork. What do you do if your bank isn't offering the triple P loan? Okay, contact your bank. If they clearly have said we're not going to roll it out, then try to find another bank and try to get on their queue as fast as possible. If you're not already a customer of a bank, you're going to be at the bottom of the priority because banks are currently processing customer requests first. And there's also partly a reason why. There's federal regulations requiring that a bank knows its client. And so there's extra vetting process involved. So try to go to your bank. If they don't have it up yet, see if they plan to. Not all banks are going to have it right now. Only the preferred SBA lenders are really rolling it from the fast track program right now. But the legislation is written so that any lender, any FDIC, credit union, and bank will be able to have a triple P loan. Also important to note, triple P loans. We've gotten clear guidance from the SBA yesterday. And so they're very pro-founder, pro-organization friendly. They're 2 years maturity, 1% interest. All right. So these are 2-year, 1% interest loans. And the payments on this entire loan are kicked off for 6 months from the day you get the loan. So for 6 months, you don't have to pay it. The interest accrues, but you don't have to pay it for 6 months. Let's see. Bank of America won't let us apply because we've never borrowed money from them. You don't have a banking relationship. So again, any bank is going to prioritize their current customers. And so any current customers are getting the emails right now. For instance, us at the firm, we're going to apply for it to cover part of our payroll costs because we're unsure whether our clients are going to continue to pay us or not. And so our bank just let us know that we can submit our triple P loan application by 8 o'clock tomorrow when they have released their portal for it. Let's see. What is the time frame for paying the loan back? Just to double check to you guys know, 2 years, 1% interest. And it's a non-recourse, no personal guarantee, no collateral. And so if it's non-recourse, they can't really come back at you. These are supposed to be organizational friendly loans. Okay. Let's see. There's a lot of news out there that it may not be enough money to fund all the triple P programs. Absolutely. That is 100% a reality of this. So this triple P and EIDL, both of these economic relief programs are first come, first serve. And so if you get in there and the funds are dried up, you won't be able to get any. What a lot of people suspect is going to happen, and the way the legislation is written, Congress can easily extend the program by simply extending the date and allocating more funds to it. People are suspecting that's probably going to happen, mainly on the basic principle of that the covered period is until June 30th. Do we really think businesses and organizations will be out of the woods June 30th? Probably not. And so let's see what Congress does. We'll find out what happens. Again, this passed unanimously in the Senate. This virtually passed unanimously in the House. So everyone's on board for making sure businesses and organizations get this relief. Let's see. Even if you did not lay off people, do you qualify for triple P? Yeah, absolutely. Especially, so that's the whole concept. So if you laid off people between when this program started, so February 15th, it's retroactive, and then until April 27th, that's just the way that the timings work. If you laid off anyone, you have a chance to rehire everyone or rehire new people by June 30th. And if you do that, you have increased your chances of getting up to 8 weeks of loan forgiveness. Let's see. Must all employees be rehired back at the same time? as long as it's done before June 30th. The final headcount, the law states the full-time equivalents, the number of full-time equivalents. So you can have a couple of part-timers and they make a full-time, right? And so all the hiring has to be done before June 30th, okay? Let's see, I just found out from Tennessee Small Business Development Center that if you apply for the EIDL last week or earlier, your application was deleted, so you have to update their website. That I haven't heard. That's news. So apparently some person here, Laurel Brown, is reporting that apparently if you submitted your EIDL last week or earlier, your application was deleted. I kind of believe that. Last Friday when the act was approved just a week ago, the system kept crashing. So do make sure that your application's in. What should happen, you should have a receipt that they have received your loan application. So as long as you have that, you should be good, but double check. That means if you've applied for the EIDL this week, you should be good. All right, so no need to redo it. What determines the forgivability of the PPP? The number of full-time equivalents that are hired by your business or organization. So if you have, let's say, 5 full-time employees and you laid off 2 of them, as long as you hire 2 back before June 30th, so 5 and 5, you should be getting the maximum amount of forgiveness. That's also assuming your wages do not decrease more than 25%. So you can issue a 20% decrease in everyone's wage and hire 5 people total, and you're still going to get the maximum loan forgiveness. That way you can be a little tighter on cash. The EIDL loans are supposed to be faster. They're supposed to be issued within 3 days of submitting it online. Again, that's not the case right now. They're getting inundated with all these requests. I've had a number of entrepreneurs that filed it Monday. They haven't gotten it. It's 4 days. So that's going to be an ever-evolving situation. And I'm personally afraid that the $10 billion is already allocated, is already eaten up, but still file your application in. Can a nonprofit with 0 employees still apply for the EIDL? You theoretically are eligible to apply for the EIDL, but if you can't prove that you have any costs, any payroll costs, W-2 employees, then your maximum loan amount should be $0, unfortunately. So again, I would recommend the EIDL. If a nonprofit has 0 employees, yes, you can apply for EIDL, all right? Let's see, part-time employees covered in PPP, I believe so. The way that they run the calculations for full-time equivalents should be to the 20-hour-a-week and 40-hour-a-week calculations of what part-time and full-times are. I'm not 100% certain on that, but that is my thinking here. Let's see. Are 501c6s covered? Unfortunately not. Well, no, hold on. I shouldn't say that. By the law, explicitly, 501c6s aren't. However, lenders are approving nonprofit chartered organizations. In other words, even if you don't have any tax designation, but you are a nonprofit in the state of Tennessee, a lot of lenders are actually still taking those loan applications. If yours has explicitly denied that application, then go find another lender that specifically deals with SBA. Let's see. Do you have to rehire the same people back? No. It doesn't even matter about the position you're hiring for, as long as it's straight up headcount. This is triage. This is the U.S. government saying we just got to keep as many people as possible employed. So you don't have to rehire the same people. You have to just have the same full-time equivalent headcount. Let's see. Laurel, TSB DC, that's Tennessee Small Business Development Center, I believe. Let's see. Most of the employees are part-time food drivers. And so you can still add part-time food drivers. Let's just say this is Meals on Wheels. Then you can still add them together to get your full-time equivalent headcount. Okay, let's see. All right, we talked about 501c. So I'm going through the list. Now I'm at the end of the comment thread, so I'm now up to date. The PPP loan application does not use full-time equivalent language when it asks for number of employees. That's right. No, my thing is, so the question is, the loan application doesn't make any difference, but here's my thing, that full-time equivalents, and actually I really thought it did. I've got that printed out here. There we go. The only thing they state is the number of jobs. That's the only thing they state. But if you read in the details, should have the full-time equivalents. So I'm almost certain that it's full-time equivalents. It's not just full-time salaried folks. Let's see here. Do we have to hire back all staff laid off for forgiveness, or can we lower amount we apply and hire back? Okay, Ellie, I'm trying to decipher that. So long story short, so the best way to save cash reserves, all right? Yeah, you keep your head count the same. So before, as of February 15th, let's say your head count was 20 employees, okay? Full-time equivalents, 20 employees. Let's just say that, okay? And this whole part-time versus full-time isn't specifically addressed by the guidance issued by SBA. And so anything that's a question mark, your lender is going to have more information. It all depends on the bank that you go with and what they require you to get, what proof of documentation. But if you had 20 employees at February 15th and then you had to let some go all the way until April 26th or 27th, you can rehire back up to 20 on June 30th, and you can have everyone's wage decreased by 20%, and you can still be eligible for the full 8 weeks of forgiveness. Ellie, I hope that answered your question there. Let's see, what other ones have we got? Are 1099 contractors included in either the EIDL or PPP? Okay, that's a great question. So under the EIDL, so when you get the economic injury disaster loan, you have to spend that on certain things. Part of that is payroll costs. Now, I do not believe 1099 contractors are included into the EIDL. Also, triple Ps explicitly prohibit you from being able to include any 1099 contractors into your payroll calculations. That just came out last night in SBA's guidance. So if you're a nonprofit, if you're an organization, and you have 1099 contractors, and let's say you pay them $10,000 a month, let's just say, you would not be able to include that into your loan calculation. And the theory is, and what SBA actually says in the guidance, the reason why 1099 independent contractors are able to take a triple P loan out for themselves. That's why. We're afraid of people double dipping, and that's why they prohibit it. Let's see here. I am seeing if I missed any question. Here we go. Yeah, see, make sure that you've got a receipt for your EIDL loan. Let's see. What if only employees? Okay, so what if your only employees are 1099 contractors? Unfortunately, that's just not a part of the payroll cost that you can take the loan under. What if they became a normal... Okay, so if they became a normal employee before February 12th, then you got something, okay? And still you have to take the average payroll cost. It gets a little dicey in there. You have to provide the statements, the payroll journals for that. But I'd err on the caution on this. Again, when in doubt, ask your banker. When in doubt, ask your banker. And we want to go to the bankers we already have relationships with, because they're specifically servicing clients before anyone else, before anyone new, and that's for so many different reasons. You got it, Ramsey. Let's see. So if we apply for a loan that just covers us up to 8 weeks and filled out a forgiveness application, we wouldn't have to pay anything back. Absolutely. So Christy Dubose is getting it. She is getting it. The payroll cost allows you to determine your maximum loan amount. You don't have to take the maximum loan amount. I think you probably should, because why not? It's a 2-year, 1% interest loan. Okay, I know we're all a little skittish about carrying debt, but when it comes to the liquidity of our organizations and a pandemic that has no finish date, maybe let's get as much cash as we possibly can. But theoretically, if you only take enough for 8 weeks expenses, then you wouldn't have to pay anything back. Also important to note, there's in the guidance a requirement saying that only 25% of your PPP loan can be used on payroll, on mortgage, rent, utilities. 75% of what you take out in a PPP loan has to be spent on payroll costs. That's required by guidance under SBA. What urgency? So ABN asked, okay, wait, so Louis Albaba, is the 10K loan guaranteed to be approved under SBA? Okay, so again, it's how we talk about it. We gotta be more precise when talking about this. the 10K is not a loan. EIDL is a loan. And then of that, there's an emergency grant that's 10K, and that is guaranteed only if there's enough funds left in the program. Now here's my thing on a policy consideration. Triple P has almost $350 billion. EIDL program, only 10. You guys do the math. 350, this big, right? 10. So submit your EIDLs as soon as possible because that will run out. We will run out of EIDL grant funds. Ellie, if a company had 30 full-time employees in February 15, but only wants to hire 15 back with the Triple P and maintains the 15 for the full 8 weeks, will loan be forgiven or you would have to hire 30 full-time by June 30th to get the maximum loan forgiveness. So your only other option is basically to say, okay, at least we'll get 4 weeks covered, right? Like, look, these are funding mechanisms that shouldn't, if you have other business objectives, if you have other organizational objectives, make sure that those are prioritized above anything. These are tools, right? And so if it makes sense for your organization to not have 30, it makes sense for it to have 15, see if you can make the numbers work. Because under that situation, Ellie, you would have to calculate it for the 15, for the loss. So you would have 50% value there. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, the urgency in which organizations should put. What urgency should they put on their application? Let's see. I wasn't aware of the urgency, if there was an urgency box. Is there an urgency box? I was not aware of such. So the way that the urgencies worked out, so I had a conversation with the leadership of a local bank last night. And they were indicating that so self-employed independent contractors can only submit their Triple P loans next week. There's already a sense of urgency here. Anyone submitting it today and tomorrow, that's already urgent enough. So I think that should answer that question, but please follow up. I was wondering also about this. There's so many people. Oh, okay. Again, the way that the urgencies being, the prioritization, current customers first, new customers dead last. So keep that in mind, okay? So this is the grim reality. And I want everyone to know this. Even though you can submit the applications today, leadership at a bank and other banks are consistently trying to communicate, you might not get the funds for another week or two. It might not be until the end of April. The Triple P, it's a good program. It's a good piece of legislation. Unfortunately, it's taking a while to put up. And so if you have immediate liquidity issues, if you have immediate cash needs the next couple of weeks, then figure some other way to make this work. There are other financial products that you might have to consider to make sure you can meet payroll, okay? Or you might need to furlough employees, but it is going to be ugly. It's going to be a little messy for the month of April. It just is. There's just so much infrastructure putting up. Let's see. I heard, thanks ABN and Haseeb for doing this. You're welcome, Paul James. I heard today that there is a new PPP application form that came out today, but we have signed one ready to go yesterday. Is there a problem with the old form? Should I be worried about that? Thanks. I did not hear about that. I'll look it up. The one that everyone had was version 3, so I'm assuming this would be version 4. Everyone wait 1 second. Let's see here. Treasury, I'm going to look it up. Treasury PPP application. Let's see if V4 comes up. Let's see here. And I'm not seeing it. I'll double check it. I would assume that either is fine. Let's see. And again, this is going to go back to your banks. Linda, so no W-2 payroll costs, but mortgage costs can apply for... No. EIDLs, you can use EIDLs to pay for payroll for mortgage, rent payment, debt that comes from loss of revenue. EIDLs are a little more flexible, but they basically cover almost the same things as Triple Ps. So EIDLs can absolutely cover payroll cost. Let's see, Scott Neerman. Again, to clarify, those of us who are small and may have no W-2, if operating expenses also count for EIDL, then should we... Everyone apply for the EIDLs. everyone apply for the EIDLs. You cannot go wrong. EIDL is a loan. You're going to get an emergency grant of $10,000, and that you don't have to pay back. You have to use the funds on payroll costs, mortgage, rent, utilities, indebtedness due to loss in revenue, okay? EIDLs are such a great vehicle. My only lament is the fact that we don't have enough Congress funding into that program, because I don't think they realized it would actually be the stopgap. L, you're saying there is a new form today. At 11. Great. I do need more coffee. I'm working on it. All right. Let's see. ABN uploaded the latest version. Fantastic, L. Thank you. Let's see here. All right, I'll look that up in a second. I want to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Let's see. Am I correct in understanding that payroll taxes, although they can be deferred, will have to be paid back under the Triple P? Okay. So, payroll taxes are not included into the loan forgiveness. Under the CARES Act, employers are able to kick off any employer payroll costs until the end of 2021 for half of it, and then the other half until 2022. In other words, just to make sure everyone understands this, under the CARES Act, payroll taxes by the employer, half of it can be deferred until the end of 2021. The other half can be deferred until 2022. All right, so you shouldn't have to pay any payroll taxes as an employer underneath the CARES Act. You can defer those payments. Okay, it even protects people who are arranging for the withdrawal and for the deferment of those payments to make sure that they're not on the hook. It's a well-written section. Let's see, if we don't have emergency liquidity needs, but we still have problems within a month or two, should we skip the EIDL and focus on the Triple P application? So I think what's going to happen is that by that point, EIDL is not going to have any funds left in its program. I just think that we're going to run through the $10 billion. That's my opinion. That's not a fact. I think if you're already tempted to run the Triple P application, you probably should just go ahead and put it in. Here's why. It is on a first-come, first-served basis. That's one. Two, in order to get loan forgiveness, you have the maximum. You want to have the Triple P in effect for at least 8 weeks. So what that means, if we do the math, what's 8 weeks before June 30th? All right, make sure you can get your Triple P loan before then. If we do the math, then 8 weeks before June 30th is the middle of May, if not the second week of May. And if it's going to take a couple weeks for your Triple P loan to be approved, then that means you should be putting it in now. Okay? So I want to make sure. So Elizabeth Rowland, just make sure that if you're considering the Triple P, you should just do it now. Okay? Because it's crazy how the timelines work out, but to get the maximum loan forgiveness, you should do it now. Okay? Let's see. Guidance from the National Chamber today said the EIDL loans will be... That's absolutely true, and that's not new news. This has been in the law since day one. Hell, since day -5, right? So National Chamber is saying that the EIDL loans, absolutely, EIDLs are going to be rolled into the Triple P. So you get your EIDL. If the loan is approved, then that gets refinanced under the Triple P. That way, you're only on the hook for one loan, and it's a 2-year, 1% loan. Okay? So again, you can apply for the EIDL. When you do apply for the Triple P, the EIDL gets sucked right into it. It gets refinanced. Let's see. Kirby Deal. PPP only applies to full-time employees. The way that I read it, that's not the case. The way that I read it is full-time equivalents. And think about why that is. We're thinking about all the gig workers that are running these part-time jobs, right? The average American has multiple part-time jobs. So the way that I read this and the way that I've heard from banks and what they're talking about, that your full-time equivalent employees can be a combination of part-time employees as well. That's my understanding of it. Again, the ultimate truth, the ultimate bearer of this fact is going to be your bank lending you the loan, right? So it's ultimately up to them. Let's see. Employee taxes or employer taxes? Only the employer taxes get deferred. Okay, employees still have to pay their taxes, and there might be no, I have not dug in to the personal tax provisions here, as I've stayed strictly on businesses and organizations. But for the purposes of this conversation, employer taxes are deferred until the end of 2021. Okay, let's see. And you do have to pay the employer side taxes. They are not going to be forgiven underneath the triple P. Let's see. Deferment of tax payments and triple P loans are not mutually exclusive. Kara Jordan, I just want you to know, you can add all these benefits together, okay? So you can go get a triple P loan, you can still defer your taxes, okay? That is a thing. Let's see. ABN, thanks for posting the new form. Let's see. Okay, so that new form that you posted is version 3, so it's interesting. That might not have updated, but I'll double check. Let's see. Linda Parsons. Parsons, is there any kind of paperwork to fill out to defer payroll taxes? From what I understand, I don't think there's any paperwork, but at this point, I gotta refer you to your accountant. There might be an IRS tax. I think there is an IRS tax form that you would have to fill out to defer your taxes. So just double check, but that will be in the IRS world and your tax preparer world, okay? Let's see. How do I make sure my application went through for the SBA 10,000? Check the status of it. As long as you submitted it on the SBA's website and you received the confirmation, you should have received the confirmation saying that it was received. All right? So you should have received the confirmation they received it, and that should suffice. Let's see. And this is for the EIDL loans, people. Let's see. Laurel Brown saying you should reapply to be safe. Be careful about the reapplying, because if you get 2 $10,000 grants because of an administrative error, you have to pay back the other one because you're only supposed to take one. So be very careful about reapplying. Let's see. How long does it take for the EIDL loan to transition into a grant? No. Okay, look, we're trying to make this clear, guys. And so no one's talking about it with the level of precision that we need to talk about it. So the EID loans, the economic injury disaster loans, are loans. When you submit to the SBA website, that kicks off a loan process. When it kicks off the loan process, within 3 days, it's right now longer, but within technically 3 days, the SBA is going to give you a $10,000 grant. We all are familiar with grants in this thread, right? So that's a grant. So your loan process is still here, but then they're just going to give you $10,000 a grant if there's still funds left in the program. And again, my fear is that $10 billion for this program is not a lot. And so we don't even know if we've already burned through all of them, but if you haven't applied for EIDLs, go apply. Let's see. Okay, thanks, ABN. Let's see. Sherry Code Repairs. The heading at the top of the form is more specific to types of organizations. Let's check that out. Please toss any questions up. Taking this quick second to look at that form. Let's see. Where is it on Alliance for Better Nonprofit? Resources, COVID-19. You guys do a really good job with your website. Let's see. There we go. PPP application. Yeah, they totally up. Let's see. That is updated. That is great. Let's see. They have updated it, so... Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, let me double check and get this right. Plus EIDL, number of jobs, number... that's what they did. That's good. Let's see. Not to hide the ball from you guys just a little bit. I just want to read through this and make sure that we're talking about this. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh no, that's the one we got early this morning. Could you apply for EIDL just for the grant and not take the loan? So Alana I'm gonna butcher your name, but Alana McCasack. Sorry. So when you're applying for the EIDL loan, you're self-certifying that you need the loan. So do not take it if you don't need the loan. So I guess my practical advice is go submit it, but just make sure that if you go through the loan process that you really could use the funds, because this is still a low interest loan, and it gets, again, this rolls into the triple P. And so I would recommend that you go file for the EIDL, go file for the triple P, and have it all refinanced under the triple P. Because again, this is a 2-year, 1% interest loan. It's highly favorable. Robert Thompson, if my nonprofit has no payroll, can we get EIDL just for rent? Yes. The trick is, though, you got to be able to make sure that you can spend the EIDL amounts on just the required amounts, the required things that they say you can, such as payroll costs, rent, utilities. I think you should be able to, because the time period for spending that amount is the whole 2020, which is different than triple P. So my guess is yes. So that's my guess. It's not a fact. I think my interpretation of the law is that if you have no payroll, can you use it just for rent? I think you can. Let's see. But the triple P has way more restrictions on this stuff. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so indeed. So the form that ABN posted online on their COVID-19 sources, now at the top, there are significant more options that are more accurate to the reflection of what the business and what the organization is. You can say you're a 501c3. You can say you're a veterans organization, a tribal business. So that's more accurate. There are terms for, instead of number of, let's see, I think they use head count. Instead of number of jobs, they say number of employees. This is way more accurate. I'll update my link tree to include this as well. This is fantastic. This is good. This is way more accurate. This now tracks 100% with the SBA guidance that was released yesterday, and that's why they updated it. So that's very good. If you already submitted a triple P application, there's no difference. I don't think the information is really that different. Let's see. Eric Carlson, I'm an independent contractor gig worker, unincorporated, no business license. Am I eligible for EIDL on 3Ps? Let's see. Eric Carlson, just straight up, you need a business license. That's not going to come up and blow up in your face right now. But just, I'm saying, even if you don't have an LLC or a corporation, if you're a sole prop, if you're a gig worker, if you're a gig worker, yeah, technically, if you're, okay, whatever. So you later on just consider maybe getting a business license. For the purposes of this conversation, okay, you can apply for EIDL and you can apply for the 3P loans. The 3P loans, the triple P loans are specifically allowed, self-employed and independent contractors are specifically allowed to take a triple P loan. The amount that you claim is net earnings off of self-employment. So whatever your net earnings, how much money you netted after all of your self-employment activities, whatever amount that was, take the monthly version of that, okay, and multiply it by 2.5, and that's how much of the loan you can take, okay? But Eric Carlson, yes, you should be able to be eligible at least for the triple P. I think you're eligible for the EIDL. Let me double check something. Yes, you are eligible for that as well. The trick is with the EIDL and the 3Ps is spending it on payroll costs, but you should be able to both. So yes, okay? Yes. So if a loan is not needed, should I just apply for the triple P? So Elena McKissack, I'm trying to, if you can rephrase that question, that'd be really nice. Ellie, so on the new form, number of employees equals full-time equivalents or actual? Again, this goes, I wish I had better answers. So much of this is still transforming. I would go ahead and put down on that form, if I was filling it out, I would actually just put the total head count of people. I think I would just do that, total head count of people. Because at the end of the day, it's what your lenders are going to decide what they need to do. So what I recommend is put down your total number of people and submit that into your lender and explain. Try to make this application as inclusive and as organized and as clear as possible. Help your banker out, because right now the banking industry is not happy right now because the federal government is essentially throwing them in the fire, right? So make it as easy as you possibly can for your banker to understand what's going on, because this terminology, the verbiage, It is all in flux, and we're trying to refine it, but it's not being refined as fast as it should. Shay Boswell. Therefore, the new application supports your theory that employee equals... Yes, I believe so. At the end of the day, Shay, what we're really caring about in the Triple P program, the Triple P loans, is essentially how many people did you hire before? Have you hired before the pandemic hit? And then how many people have you hired after our relief efforts? So it's kind of tomato. If in the first number you say, okay, I had 5 full-time employees, and then I had like 4 part-timers until it's 9 people, right? Or maybe that's 7 full-time employees. As long as we're talking about the same kind of metric, the same calculation on the forgiveness, it should match. And so that's why I think we're going to see that this is going to continue to be confusing, because I don't think there's really necessarily a wrong way this is going to work out, as long as we have the same baseline to compare what our employment levels were before February 15th or as of, and then June 30th. So, Shay, I hope that answered, but yeah, you're thinking along the right terms. Elena, thanks for rephrasing. If an EIDL is not something we need, should we go ahead and do a PPP? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with not doing the EIDL. What I would challenge you, and that's actually that's really nice, because I think you're probably thinking, well, if I don't need that emergency fund, I don't want to take it from someone else. And so certainly that is your choice, and you can decide to do that. And I think that's fantastic. As long as you're not jeopardizing where your livelihood, where your liquidity is for an organization, as long as you're very clear that you've got enough capital till May, right? Through May. As long as you're sure about that, then absolutely, just go file for the Triple P. I think that's fantastic. I think that's an individual consideration. The unfortunate thing is that professionals and professional services, we have to recommend that you get everything you possibly can. And from a policy consideration, that might not be the best thing. And so I appreciate you thinking about that. Elizabeth Rowland, we won't need more than 10K. So does that mean if we apply for the EIDL PPP, no matter what, we don't get stuck with a loan, we will just get the EIDL grant or be able to get PPP forgiven? Okay, so long story short, Elizabeth, what you're going to have to do, I recommend downloading the new Triple P form that ABN has on their COVID-19 resources. There is a little more guidance on how you calculate sort of the numbers of forgiveness. If you get the $10,000 grant from EIDL, the emergency grant, $10,000, that's going to eat out of the amount of forgiveness you can get in the Triple P. This is a numbers game. You're going to have to look at the numbers, I think, for your situation and see what's favorable, what's not. So that's highly personal. I think that's a financial thing. So I would recommend that you run the numbers and see. If you have any questions on how the numbers are calculated, shout out, as I can give you how that works. Jim Moody, engage your board to assure financial policies have a borrowing component. Okay, so I'm a lawyer. I'll at least get into this part real quick. So as the leadership of your nonprofit, as your organization, you got to make sure that you are able to authorize the organization to carry debt. Now, this is very different depending on your bylaws. It's not going to be in your charter typically, although sometimes weird drafters would put it in your charter. But this is pretty much in your bylaws. And so if you look in your bylaws, if there are any restrictions on what the CEO, the director, or any operator, what debt can you place on an organization? Check those bylaws. Send an email to your board. Get everyone riled up. Get everyone understanding the urgency of this. Some people out there don't understand the urgency of this. Get people on your board and your stakeholders to understand the urgency of this and communicate them and saying, hey, and don't wait for just look, I think I can. Tell me if I'm wrong. I have to do this quickly. Please let me know ASAP. But that's a fantastic point, and props to Jim Moody for bringing it up, okay? Eva Pierce, what should nonprofits put under applicant ownership? We have no owner. Let's see. And I thought about that same thing. Let's see if on the new form is the applicant or any owner. Okay, so this is great. So the new form, the ABN, so Ava, okay, look, the old form, I totally agree. The old form is confusing. There is no owner of a nonprofit. It's the very purpose of a 501c3 is to be for the public benefit. So look at the new form that ABN has put out on their COVID-19 resources page, and you'll see that they have changed the language now that is the applicant or any owner. And so now you don't have to attest to the owner. Now it's just the applicant, which would be the nonprofit organization. Ava, I hope that helped. James Nichols, are both loans forgiven? Okay, again, EIDL. So EIDLs get rolled into the triple P. The only thing that's forgiven is the 8 weeks on the triple P loans. In the EIDL loans, when you submit it on the SBA's website, and if they still got money left in the program, they'll cut you a $10,000 grant check that's free, clear, not paybackable. All right? Let's see. Kyle Dixon, doing that EIDL application for my nonprofit 501c3. What is the difference of cost of goods sold and nonprofit cost of operation? Are they the same? Let's see. I am not particularly sure about that part of the application. As a lecturer of entrepreneurship and business at UT, I would say, as someone who knows business, I would say cost of goods sold. So usually a nonprofit won't have a cost of goods sold, right? Is that's very, that I'm selling a product and then here are the materials, right? Here are the costs of the materials. And so I would say that really it's the nonprofit cost of operation, which includes payroll, which includes overhead, which includes just what are your costs of running that nonprofit. So they're not the same. I would just focus on the nonprofit cost of operation. And again, here, let me take the pressure off, Kyle. Let me take the pressure off. That's going to start a loan application, and that's going to be something parallel, okay? And so just put the application in. Put the application in on the SBA's website and get eligible for that $10,000 grant check. That will, I promise, that will all work itself out when you go for the triple P. A lot of times, so I haven't heard of a lot of people, usually if you submit for the EIDL, those same people are also going to apply for the triple P. So I cannot stress that enough, that EIDLs can and will work with triple Ps. Let's see, Sherry Paris, our nonprofit left that COGS field blank? Absolutely. I think, Sherry, that's the right way to do it. I think COGS are 0 for a nonprofit. You would have to go find a specifically particular nonprofit in which they would have any COGS. And the only thing I could think of is, really if you think about the old classic example of Tom's Shoes. If they have the nonprofit wing and they're selling shoes, the cost of the shoes sold, right, would be the COGS. And that's an accounting question, really, because you're bifurcating the for-profit and nonprofit. But yeah, for most nonprofits, I would imagine the COGS are 0. Let's see. Louis Albaba, where is the application for PPP listed at? If you go to ABN, and we've got a link down here, ABN just posted it, but if you want to walk through, you simply go onto their websites, you go to betternonprofits.org, okay, you go to resources, and you click COVID-19. The PPP form is the first one on the website, all right? Oh my God, I went through all the questions so far. What other questions do we got? I need a sip of, this coffee is not hydrating my throat, as you can imagine. Wait 1 second, people, I'm gonna get a cough drop. What other questions do we got? Come on, I mean, and it doesn't have to be about the funding here, right? I mean, there are a lot of issues right now. So what's blocking anyone in this group from doing the things they need to do to advance their nonprofit? Okay? Is anyone questioning whether they need to continue the nonprofit? Okay, so I'm just gonna rant. So it's interesting. Oh, you got it, Shay. Louis, where are you? So I'm of Pakistani descent. I moved to Knoxville 13 years ago. I came down here for law school, and then I found my wife in my third year of law school, and she really convinced me I should stay in Knoxville. It's a fantastic place, and I just love it. This is home. This is home for us. Oh, tea and honey. Funny enough, the cough drops I have are like honey. It's fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. But Knoxville's home. I care so much about this place. This place is like I'm here forever. Like I love this place. We have such a great culture and environment. People look out for each other, and we're really smart. We're really smart down here, and I think we're really quiet about how smart we are. And I think other areas and other regions take us granted for that. But I love this area so much. I love the people involved in this area. We have so many good people here. We're in an existential fight to make sure businesses and nonprofits and any organization stay alive. It's so important for organizations and nonprofits to be able to continue marketing, to be able to continue outreaching, even if your operations are scaled down to 10%. And that is a hard hit. But you got to keep going, I think, because when we get through this, customers and consumers are really going to decide who they love the most, what organizations they just feel attached to. And this is the time to build that attachment, that bond. Okay, so Michael Earl, the EIDL is not on any website besides SBA.gov. If you go to my link tree, my profile, you'll see a link to the SBA. But if you go to the SBA.gov, you'll see a link for file for COVID-19 disaster relief. That's where you want to go. That's the only thing out of this whole thing. And ABN just posted a link right there. That is awesome. That's the only thing that you can apply through the SBA. Everything else, there's not a lot of everything else. The triple P is directly through your bank. All right? So triple P is in your bank, and SBA, the EIDL. All right? Let's see. Tillman Ford. When I filed for the farmer's market, I had to claim ownership, but put the EIN for a 501c3 instead of my Social Security. Will that be a problem? Absolutely not. It will not be a problem. So the law clearly states that we're running everything by taxpayer identification number, or TIN. So if you have your Social Security number associated with the business, or you've got an IRS federal employer identification number, or FEIN, that will suffice. That will be your taxpayer identification number 10. All right? So you should be good, Tillman Ford. James, you got the link to the ABN right there. It's at the bottom of the screen in the comments. That's probably you liking it. That's good. Let's see. Elizabeth Rowland. Our bylaws don't seem to say anything about taking on debt. Do we need to update them to make that permission explicit? No. So this is the weird thing. So we form nonprofits, and when we form nonprofits, there are specific actions that allow the directors and other empowered officials to open accounts and to take on debts. So usually in the creation of the nonprofit, in the organization, these leaders should be able to take on certain obligations for the organization. When in doubt, if their bylaws don't say anything, I highly recommend that you send an email to your entire board and saying, hey, I just need a yay or nay on this. Can you guys just vote via email here saying it's okay for me to apply for this loan? Okay? Again, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I'm operating out of very much crossing T's and dotting I's, but you can't go wrong with that, right? And it's okay in that email to say, if you don't respond by 8 o'clock, whatever, then I'm just going to go ahead and file for it, okay? So I want to make sure who posted that. So Elizabeth Rowland, I hope that kind of addressed your point. So again, it's good practice to send an email out to your board, keep everyone involved, because again, it's really easy to feel separated from your board and feel like that they're almost an enemy sometimes, but work with everyone and keep everyone informed and get just a simple yes or no, okay? Don't be afraid of it. Let's see. Doug Bittinger. We are a small, all-volunteer 501c3. No payroll, just utilities and materials. Is there any reason for us to look at either of these programs? Yes. The problem is, how do you calculate payroll? So my recommendation, Doug, is that I think you should definitely go file for an EIDL, an economic injury disaster loan, through the SBA.gov. Okay? Let's see, Shay, good. So Doug, I think an EIDL is something you might want to look into, because that loan is not determinative by how many employees you have. Rather, that is determinative just off of other factors, but the $10,000 grant is free money that gets to be spent on payroll costs, rent, utilities, mortgage payments. So EIDL directly applies to what you're talking about. And I still think if you're a 501c3 and you don't have any payroll, This is just me being aggressive, okay? But I think if you paid 1099 contractors, it's not supposed to be a part of things. But I just contact your bank. Contact your bank about the triple P. Because again, everything I'm saying here, honestly, I mean, it's as accurate as I possibly can get you. I've been talking to bankers all week. I've been talking to accountants all week. But at the end of the day, it's all about what your banker requires, okay? So Doug, I highly recommend you guys reach out to your bank and just send a quick email or look online and see if they have COVID-19 resources, because I think you guys should still be hungry for any help or resources, because if you're not, I can argue, come on, man, like let's find any free help we possibly can. I think you should look at it, all right? And that's why you're here, so I appreciate you being here. Shay, so our board did an email vote today, dropped off the documents. Well done. That is great. That is a job well done. All right. Let's see. So, okay, there's something that we haven't talked about, and that's unemployment. There are going to be situations where our employees and our 1099 contractors can't find employment, that we can't, for instance, 1099. Technically, by the SBA guidance, 1099 payments aren't covered in the term payroll costs. And so what, we're just going to leave those people out in the cold? Technically, independent contractors can file for their own triple Ps. They can also apply for unemployment assistance. And so I want everyone here to understand that the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program by the CARES Act allows an extra $600 a week in unemployment benefits to any of those who qualify, which is simply self-employed and independent contractors, to start until June 30th. Okay, that's a lot of money. That could be someone's mortgage payment and living costs, right? So I just want you guys to be aware. Now, the state of Tennessee is still waiting on the federal guidelines and regulations to put the program into place. So I encourage everyone who might be in that boat to go online to the state of Tennessee's unemployment website, all right, and file for unemployment. It will show a big zero. It will show a big goose egg. That's okay. They even state that in their Twitter feed, okay? Because the U.S. Department of Labor hasn't funded the programs yet to any of the states. So that is a process that is still pending. Let's see. Sam Maynard. Yay! What's up? What's going on, Sam? Do you think any of the guidelines that has been put out will change again? Great question. I don't think the guidelines are going to change that much from here on out. The moment that banks start first taking their applications today, I think the guidelines are not going to change that much. One important piece of guideline that changed yesterday was really good for everyone's favor, and it sounds counterintuitive. The interest went up from 50 basis points to 100, meaning from 0.5% to 1%. That's in everyone's favor because there were lenders not going to issue PPP loans because there wasn't enough interest for them to make money on. And so now the Treasury Department said, look, we'll just do 1%, and I hope, the goal is more banks are offering these loans. Now, Sam, I think one thing that might change are two things. Actually, I think there are two things that might change. They might delay, they might extend the covered period to be beyond June 30th. And if they do that, they might also pump in more federal dollars into the program. All right? So I think those are two changes that we want to look out for. Kyle Dixon, getting my board together for this. For EIDL, I know there is a 10K grant. Awesome. Would we still receive that money yes. So even if your loan is not approved, if your EID loan, if your economic injury disaster loan is not approved, that 10K is free and clear yours and you don't have to repay it. So Kyle Dixon, that's a fantastic point. But yes, that is still free clear yours even if your loan does not go through. That's the EIDL people, right? Brittany, for triple P, is average monthly payroll net or gross? I forgot whether you said taxes are covered. Okay, I think you're meshing a couple of things into this. So for triple P, average monthly payroll costs are simply the wages that you're paying, right? Excuse me. The wages that you're paying on a monthly basis, that's W-2 employees, all right? And then if this is a nonprofit, if this is a for-profit, then any net earnings from self-employment gets into the payroll cost calculation. So Brittany, it kind of sounds like that we're straddling the line between nonprofit and for-profit. So if you can clarify in another comment exactly what that situation you're talking about is, that'd be really fantastic. Kyle Dixon, you're welcome. Just trying to bring as much value as possible. This is not just me. I've had so many different conversations with so many smart and so many driven people about how to figure out what we're saying is right. So again, this is a fluidly, dynamically changing environment and just trying to get as much clarity out there. I think what every operator needs is clarity so that you have the confidence to decide what are you supposed to do with your organization, for-profit or nonprofit. And without clarity, we only have fear. And with fear, we're going to make bad decisions and bad choices. So that's my whole thing. I just want people to better understand what the options are so we can make better business decisions. Okay? Brittany, if you can provide a clarifying, but in general, I'm sorry, I'm now reading the full comment. There we go. Taxes are not included in the forgiveness aspect, but I believe you can use the PPP loan on taxes with the employment. Now let me double check this. Hold on. Any more questions, please send them over. I think we've hit a lot of the high points. ABN, do we have any more questions that were via email that we want to answer? Let's see. I'm looking through, guys. Hold on. I've got the law printed out in paper, so I'm going through just to make sure. Here we go. Okay, let me cross-reference this one more thing. Okay, so Brittany, just want to clarify. So technically what you can use the triple P loans is for payroll costs. What's included in payroll costs are, I quote, payment of state or local tax assessed on the compensation of employees. So I believe the tax would be included, and employer-side taxes are deferred under different parts of the CARES Act. All right, so that should take care of all the taxes. I think, okay, I might have got that one part wrong. And actually, I got to put a disclaimer. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not an accountant. So I highly recommend asking your tax preparer and asking your lender, all right? But it might be the case that you might not be able to, but honestly, I'm not entirely sure. So please follow up on that. Let's see. Ramsey House. Does anyone have a link to what documents we need to apply for? Okay. No. So, hey, sorry guys. 1 second. That cough drop is only good for a certain amount of time. I'm going back to coffee now. Okay. Thank you, Tom, for joining in. We're just trying to make this as valuable as possible. Thanks to ABN for hosting this. This is fantastic. Let's see. Ramsey House. Okay, so the SBA provided guidance. Thanks, Jim. You too. So SBA put out guidance. All you need to do is complete your triple P loan form. That's the application form that's on the ABN's website, for instance, or the Treasury's website. But ABN's got it really handy for you. Okay. And then you have to submit proof of your payroll costs, and then proof of any net earnings as a self-employed individual or business, okay? And that could be tax forms, but not necessarily. Actually, I had a question with a 501c3 that might be watching in this group, where one bank required the particular form, the tax form, for show what payroll costs you've had. Well, underneath the SBA guidance that we've gotten last night, it doesn't look like you need that. It looks like that QuickBooks might be enough to show what your payroll register and what your expenses were. And the reason why I feel really confident about that, again, talk to your lender, but I feel confident about that because SBA's guidance is specifically saying to lenders, to banks, you don't have to vet what a borrower is telling you about their business or organization. You get to approve the loan. We'll back you for that loan. It's all on the borrower. The borrower has to make the right statement that they cannot be lying. And so that's encouraging. So back to the documents of what you need, right? So Ramsey House, So you fill out the triple P loan application and you bring your payroll register, you provide your payroll register or QuickBooks statements, something that's showing where your payroll expenses are, okay? And if you're self-employed and this is a nonprofit, what your expenses were and how much money you made, okay? And it doesn't have to be tax documents. It can be QuickBooks documents. I urge all of you to be mindful that this is not bankers and their problems. This is the federal government trying to get this clear to the bankers, and bankers are trying their hardest. They're working so hard to make sure that they have the liquidity for everyone in this community, and so make it easy for them. Make it clear, make it organized, be detailed, provide as much as you can in this application so they don't have to reject you because they needed more application info, okay? Kelly Williams, if we receive state funding for a portion of our payroll, should we exclude this amount from our loan request? Yes. Wait, hold on. So there are two things. So you can use your entire payroll costs, okay, to see what maximum loan you're available to take. You don't have to take it all. But then what you have to do, once you get the loan, you have to spend it on payroll, mortgage, rent, utilities. And the guidance in the SBA is saying that 75% of your total loan that you get has to be spent on payroll. If you can't do that, then ask for less amount. So again, Kelly Williams, that actually is going to be a question of numbers. Run your numbers. Make sure that if you don't need all of that, right, maybe you don't take all of that. So, but the way that the calculations work is your total cost. It's not caring about how you're paying it. It's just your total cost. That's my understanding of the law. Again, talk to your banker and bring that up before you file the application. That way you don't have a risk of your application getting denied and you're farther back in the queue, okay? Great question. Marble Springs State Historic Site. What is the date length that the PPP covers payroll? Was that into June? That's a great question. Okay, so we got to be a little more precise about this. The triple P is a loan that's designed to cover expenses between February 15 and June 30. The loan forgiveness aspect to that, not all of it's forgivable, only 8 weeks. And the 8 weeks starts on the day you get the loan. So if you get the loan on May 1, and by the way, that's a realistic possibility. Thank you, Michael, for joining in. Thank you, guys. So if you get your loan on May 1, you have 8 weeks from May 1 to then have all of those expenses forgivable, okay? Does that make sense? So it's until June 30th. The loan proceeds can be used up to June 30th. If they don't, they turn into a loan, right? There are a couple, so June 30th, okay? But remember, only 8 weeks are forgivable. What other questions do we got? Let's see. Wow, I've been talking so much that, like, when I don't talk, my ears are ringing. Wow, it's kind of cool. All right, what other questions do we got? I guess I could go with random updates. So everyone's trying the hardest to make sure, I know, right? Everyone's trying the hardest to make sure that all of us Americans are taken care of. In these times, be as patient as you possibly can. This is the greatest exercise of our resilience and our patience. And it's also a test of our creativity, all right? I want everyone to understand that the next few months we get to look and see our organizations, what we didn't feel good about them before, and we get to dig in and we get to make them better. This is the time to make our organizations better. This is the time where, beginning of 2020 was a little of a start. And sure, maybe we're nosediving a little bit, but this is our chance to go maybe higher. This is our chance. Look, this is once in several generations. This is a once in a century kind of deal, right? Take this downtime. Take this, everything's in motion. Everyone's thinking. Everyone's receptive to changing how they believe about things. This is an impressionable time. So make use of this time. I haven't verified this 100%, but just know that I think part of the legislation, individuals can actually contribute more more money to charitable organizations. I think before it was capped at 60% of your adjusted gross income. Now you can actually get it to up to 100% of your adjusted gross income for the year 2020. In other words, guys, you guys are nonprofits. You guys are organizations. You know, if you're 501c3s, this is the time to be asking for donations. This is the time to be sending out marketing campaigns. This is the time to give people the assurance that you are treating COVID seriously and that your operations may be impacted, but this is how you're doing it. Let's see, Evelyn Wilcox, what are the reporting requirements? Let's see, what are we talking about reporting requirements on what? Let's see, I'm going back to Marble Springs for just 1 second. Will taking EIDL or Triple P exclude the site from requesting grants? No. I think, from what I understand, taking these loans, it's a debt instrument. As long as the grants... Now, I do know that some grants require that you might have some funding mechanisms or no mechanisms to fund particular things. I'm really out of my reach right here, but what I'm getting to is it's all dependent on the grant. All right? There's no one steadfast rule. All right? So look into the details of the grant. Look into the National Endowment of the Arts. Talk to them. Because I would really wager, I'm going to go on a limb and say that I highly doubt that taking an EIDL or a Triple P loan is going to negatively impact your ability to get a grant. I highly doubt it. All right. Let's see. Evelyn, what are reporting requirements? Okay, so you're probably talking about the reporting requirements for the Triple P loans. Can you please provide some clarity on that comment? Is I can talk about a lot of different reporting requirements and a lot of different things, but let's get that a little more specific so I can get you answered up. So this is the time where we all need to dig in and figure out what we all probably didn't feel 100% about our organizations before the pandemic. So let's list them out. Let's be calm and collective, and let's work towards figuring out what the future of our organizations look like in the most positive and uplifting and realistic way. All right. I'm running out of, I think, content. I think I've said a lot of the important stuff. Again, I have to reiterate, every bank has urged me, and I think every bank is going to urge everyone else, that these loans are not going to be rapid fire. If you submit it today, you're not going to get the funds Monday. This is not going to happen for Triple P. We got to be patient. We have to be resilient. And we have to be very practical. Just because we're going to submit the Triple P loan doesn't mean that all of our problems are going to go away. Right? We still have marketing issues. We still have humanitarian issues. We still have the fact that our cash needs for the next 2 weeks might be strapped. So we got to be clear. But if you guys are wondering, and this is actually really important, and I don't know if I talked about this enough, but when you submit your Triple P loan, and if you need to furlough, if you need to fire people or lay off people, only to rehire them later, you can fire people all the way up to April 26th. I think it's either that or 27th, but I don't want you to say that wrong if it's an earlier date. And so April 26th, you can drop people off your payroll to maintain cash that you need because of the short-term cash requirements. As long as you rehire up to the same employee count, okay, by June 30th, you'll be able to have 8 weeks of the loan forgiven. And remember, I think I speak for all of us when I say I'm hopeful that we get our stimulus checks. I hope people get their stimulus checks. Hopefully soon. Hopefully between that and unemployment, there are ways that people can sustain the next month. Is I really do think while we prop everything up, if we can make it through April, it's going to get a little clearer. It's an opinion. I believe it in my bones. Evelyn, all right, here we go. Thank you for clarifying. What are there reports referring to use of funds required at the end of funding period? Thank you. Okay. It's all business records. You just have to show that you had those expenses and you paid for what you were paying for. This should be in line with how you're already thinking in terms of nonprofits, right? Just as long as I encourage everyone to take a picture of every check, right? To have your bank statements downloaded in case they're not available online anymore. Just get as many copies of documents you can and offload them and download them, so that way you can submit all of that with your paperwork on your loan forgiveness aspect. Okay? And you're most certainly welcome. Thanks for ABN for hosting this. This is fantastic. ABN, unless there are more questions, we might want to wrap up soon. I think we've got a lot figured out here, unless there's something that's just really missed. And did we get all the questions that were submitted previously? Let's see. Let's see here. Can a staff member, let's see. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll tell you what, sometimes I run out of energy because I feel like sometimes I'm just talking into the box and I feel like some people are already figuring this out. But please send me your questions and anything, and I just want to help as many people as possible. Thank you guys so much. I will give my voice a break. I will get that tea and honey. I will not turn down any donations of tea and honey. I will take them. You're not going to have them tax write-off, but I will take them. Thank you guys. Be positive, be optimistic, but be smart and watch out for yourself. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. Just be wise, be sharp, be prudent. And remember, if you feel yourself getting anxious, if you feel yourself getting scared, one, talk to someone. And two, try to get facts. Try to get primary sources of information, not secondary, okay? Primary sources as much as possible. The more facts, the better we understand stuff. That's the way we move forward, and that's the way we can find more progress, all right? So let's build a positive future for East Tennessee together, okay? And it all starts by how we react for the next few months, all right? Thank you guys so much. Thank you for ABN for hosting. Thank you for UT Department of Management Entrepreneurship for supporting me. Thank you for my firm, Morehouse Legal, for supporting me, as they cover my payroll so I can do this. So thank you for everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in, for your questions, and we're here for you guys, all of us. Thank you guys.